From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
A chaotic scene. Protesters breaching the United States Capitol in D.C., many yelling that Trump won the presidential election.
At least one person shot amid the unrest.
Due to an external security threat, no entry or exit is permitted at this time in any of the Capitol Complex buildings.
This all happening as Congress was in the process of certifying the results of the election, and that process has been halted.
And before all of this unfolded, this is what President Trump told protesters.
We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved.
You're watching WRTV News at 7. I'm Amanda Starrentino.
And I'm Mark Mullins. We begin with the latest from a chaotic day in the nation's capital. First, the U.S. Capitol has been deemed secure and clear at this hour. And Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi says lawmakers will return to the election certification process tonight. But here's what led up to all of this. Protesters breached the United States Capitol building, storming inside. There were shots fired. At least one civilian woman was shot. Emergency crews took her to the hospital, but the Associated Press reports she just died. The AP also reports at least one explosive device was found near the U.S. Capitol. Officials say that explosive is no longer a threat. Thousands of other protesters remained on the steps of the Capitol, many claiming that President Trump won and the election was stolen from him. This happened as Congress was certifying the results of the election. The president remained silent at first and then released a tweet asking for people to remain peaceful. More than an hour had passed, and after many lawmakers called on the president to formally address the country, he released this pre-recorded video on social media.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel. But go home and go home in peace.
A far less chaotic scene in downtown Indianapolis today. A small group of people protested outside of the State House in support of President Trump. But in that State House, Governor Eric Holcomb addressed what's happening in D.C.
This country is strong and resilient. And to me, this is a reminder for all of us that we can ourselves model good conduct. We can still fight for our country in a very responsible and compassionate and heartfelt way, and we should. But we've been here before. We were here in the 1860s, we were here in the 1960s, and maybe we're just a little premature 100 years, a century later, but we're gonna get through it. But it's gonna require folks to step up and show there's another way, and there's a productive way, and that we need to stick to those principles that made this country great and unique and exceptional in the first place.
Republican U.S. Representative from Indiana, Jackie Walorski, tweeted, quote, "Every American has the right to exercise their First Amendment rights, but violence and destruction are never the answer. Stop these attacks on our country now and keep the protests peaceful. Grateful to the U.S. Capitol Police for protecting everyone in our capital," end quote.
And Washington, D.C. is now on lockdown after today's chaos. Police have declared the Capitol secure, but there are still people milling around, although there's been no further violence so far. Now comes the hard questions about what happened and why it happened. Andrew Dimbert has that story.
One woman shot, the nation's capital on lockdown. Lawmakers being told to hide under desks and in closets as the Capitol building is under siege by violent and angry pro-Trump demonstrators. Sources tell ABC a pipe bomb was found at the Republican National Committee headquarters in D.C. and was safely detonated by law enforcement. Members of Congress who were trapped inside the Capitol reacting to the chaos.
A little bit dicey with people banging at the doors of the House chambers.
Trump supporters from around the nation storming the Capitol, forcing evacuations as Congress ratifies President-elect Joe Biden's decisive Electoral College victory. And after both Republicans and Democrats calling on President Trump to do more to stop the violence, Trump finally releasing a video telling the violent protesters to go home, but not before continuing to stoke the flames by spreading the false claim that the election was stolen from him.
This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace.
Joe Biden slamming Trump's response.
I call on President Trump to go on national television now and defend the Constitution.
Leading up to the violence, Trump had been demanding Vice President Mike Pence somehow prevent Joe Biden's win after it had already been certified by the states.
If Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election.
But after 4 years of unwavering loyalty to Donald Trump, Pence showing defiance. In a statement before presiding over the ceremonial Electoral College event, Pence writing, vesting the vice president with unilateral authority to decide presidential contests would be entirely antithetical to the founders' vision laid out on the Constitution. Even with those violent demonstrations, Congress continuing that Electoral College ratification tonight. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, Washington.
In the latest now on the coronavirus and its impact on Indiana, the State Department of Health says another 6,214 Hoosiers have been diagnosed with COVID-19. 80 more Hoosiers have died, and the total number of deaths is now 8,371. Since March, more than 539,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for COVID-19, and more than 5.8 million tests have been administered in Indiana. And we turn our attention now to efforts to get Hoosiers vaccinated against the coronavirus. While some Hoosiers are now fully vaccinated, many others are still waiting to learn exactly when it will be their turn. WRTV's Nikki Dementri has details on the next phase of the rollout just announced this afternoon.
October's interim plan is out and January's new vaccine rollout is in. Just a few hours ago, Indiana state officials announced that the vaccine rollout will continue now by age. Starting Friday at 9 a.m., Hoosiers age 80 and older can start signing up to receive their vaccine and could even get it that same day. Now, neighbors can either call 211, which is open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week, or sign up online on our shot.in.gov. Loved ones can also make an appointment on behalf of an elderly family member. Now, after those 80 and older will be Hoosiers in their 70s. Then it'll be those in their 60s. State officials say the reason behind the vaccine allocation is due to hospitalization and death data.
And for the many Hoosiers who are still asking, when can I get my shot? Please know that our goal is to get a vaccine to everyone who wants one as quickly as possible.
Dr. Lindsay Weaver says the timetable for how long this will all take to move through these age groups will depend on vaccine availability. The state is expected to get nearly 80,000 vaccines a week. Important to note here, Indiana officials say there will be at least one vaccination clinic in every single county. Now, while Holcomb says, yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel now, we can't let our guard down as Hoosiers, and he encourages everyone to continue practicing good health measures. Working for you, Nikki Dementri, WRTV.
When further pressed on the timetable for these age groups, Dr. Lindsay Weaver says she is hoping to move as quickly as possible.
Payments have temporarily stopped for thousands of Hoosiers on the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. That program expired late last month, and the federal government approved a new one that will continue providing assistance for those gig economy and self-employed workers. However, those payments aren't being made yet. This is the notice on the Department of Workforce Development's website. It says that they are, quote, waiting on guidance from the U.S. Department of Labor, but right now there is no timeline on when that will be, leaving people who rely on that money in a tough situation.
There's just zero transparency on what's been going on, so it's really hard for us to plan. It's hard for us to do anything at this point until we get concrete information on how it's going to be handled.
The Department of Workforce Development declined an interview today. We will let you know more when we find out more.
Now for a look at our forecast, Kevin Gregory joins us now. And Kevin, still gloomy skies today.
But I did see a ray of sunshine. It didn't last long. It was fleeting, but it does happen. Clouds will dominate the next couple of days. 33 in Kokomo now. The clouds will move back in tonight. 35 in Indianapolis. These temperatures will change very little. We'll end up in the upper 20s overnight. See the rain and snow to our west? That eventually will swing south of us. Tonight, it's just about the clouds moving back in. Temperatures will drop into the upper 20s by tomorrow morning. We'll have your hourly Thursday forecast coming up. Amanda?
A community is spending a lot of effort to keep the doors of a local bank from closing for good. The reason behind their mission when the news at 7 continues.
Load today.
WRTV investigates. The Franklin Community School Corporation has reached an $85,000 settlement following a bullying lawsuit filed in federal court in 2019. WRTV investigates obtained the settlement amount through a public records request in May 2019. We reported a Franklin teenager with special needs filed a 26-page federal lawsuit accusing the district of failing to stop severe and pervasive bullying within its schools. The teen, identified by the initials RN, has autism and attempted suicide several times. Her attorney tells WRTV, quote, "We are glad the school district has finally been held accountable for letting a girl with autism be bullied to the point that she tried to take her own life twice. It's unfortunate that it took filing a lawsuit for that to happen, and no amount of money can erase the suffering which she endured. But my client is in a new school and she's doing great. Her parents are happy to put this behind them." Bullying continues to be a serious problem in our schools, especially for kids with disabilities. It is important for parents to report it in writing to school administrators every time it happens.
Many people in the Shelby County community of Morristown want to keep their only bank around. For them, it's become a community staple, and they worry the closing of the bank could impact businesses and the older population. WRTV's Troy Washington speaks with a business owner about why he's fighting to keep the local bank in business.
Philip Nye owns a business in Morristown, and he's worried that the only local bank in town could close.
My business from here is probably a block and a half. Quite often on a daily basis when I come here, instead of driving a car, I hop on my golf cart and come over. In addition to the golf cart, on a nice day, I'm just as apt for a little exercise to hop on my bicycle. By the time I try to start up a car, I can be here either on a golf cart or on a bicycle.
First Merchants is set to close 17 banks across Indiana. The company says they were starting to rely heavily on digital banking services instead of branches, and the pandemic only accelerated the trend.
I want to see them remain here.
Nye wants to see if his town can keep the bank around.
Well, as a small business, it's important because banking today, a lot of people are going to the internet banking. They're removing the brick and mortar away from the communities. And again, banking to a business, I need access to be able to come in, to transfer funds, do wires and things. A lot of this can be done online, but it is challenging, it's time consuming, and it's so easy to come in and talk with a banking professional.
He says if the bank leaves, he would have to carve out time in his days just to make a bank trip.
Probably the closest bank at this point would be about 12 miles.
And ultimately, he worries how the closing could impact older residents, not just business owners.
This is a small community. A bank is vital to this community and to the people that live here because of the age of our residents, also to the local industry. And being a small community and located away from some of the larger cities, we rely on our bank tremendously.
Working for you, Troy Washington, WRTV.
Morristown residents are posting flyers about their fight to keep the bank open, and they've even started a petition. They say if the bank has to leave, they need another bank to come to their town.
35 degrees and cloudy now, but there are some changes on the way for the weekend. We've got that for you after this. Welcome back to the news at 7. It's been such a cloudy stretch. As soon as I saw some rays of sunshine coming through the window, I had to run outside, snap a picture. I think we'll wait through tomorrow's cloud cover, Friday's cloud cover, until the weekend that we see some kind of more permanent breaks in the cloud cover. We'll hang in there. We're in the dull days of winter. Temperature trend, 35 is average this time of year. This is our coldest stretch on average, the middle part of January through the 19th. Then average temperatures start to go the other way, something to look forward to. Lots of clouds, but not much in the way of precipitation. We'll be dry, not just tomorrow through Saturday, but into early next week as well, as the storm track carries weather systems closer to the Gulf Coast than the Great Lakes. 37 tomorrow, temperature Friday at 34. Notice the clouds. Then Saturday we'll break up the cloud cover enough to say for a mixture of clouds and sunshine, and we'll call it partly sunny. Temperatures, hourly temperatures tomorrow, right around 30 in the morning. Still just mid-30s at noon and not much warmer than that during the afternoon hours. If we see a break or two in the clouds, that would really be it. Just kind of a hole in the stratus or layered clouds that we've had over the last several days. The wind 10 to 15 miles per hour through the afternoon out of the northeast. The weather system that sits to our west tonight, the moisture from that would be drawn to the south as a stronger low-pressure area develops in Texas and Arkansas, and you see it sweep to the east from there, keeping, other than clouds, the precipitation south of the Ohio River, and it will be in the mid-Atlantic by the end of the work week. Temperatures Friday starting upper 20s. We'll work our way into the 30s for a high. Over the weekend, we'll take these temperatures, keep them about the same, but we'll add a little sunshine in there. 7-day forecast, several days actually, Saturday through Wednesday. Call it partly sunny. Lows are in the 20s, highs in the 30s. One exception, we may touch 40 in the middle of next week. So we'll look forward to that. But no major storm systems to worry about or Arctic cold outbreaks. We'll be back after this break.
I've got my Sunny back.
IndyCar fans are going to have to wait a little bit longer for the start of this year's racing season. The league announced a change to the schedule today, which means the first race will be in April, not March. The Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg has been moved from March 7th to April 25th due to the ongoing pandemic, and that means the first race of the season is now the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park on April 11th. That makes for a condensed start to the season when you also include 2 races at Texas Motor Speedway on May 1st and 2nd, the road course race at IMS on May 15th and the Indy 500 on May 30th. And in the meantime, we learned today that the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum will reopen on Friday at 25% capacity. The museum closed in November due to the rapid increase in COVID-19 cases. The plan is to be open 10 to 4 daily until March 1st, when hours will expand from 9 to 5. The Kiss the Bricks track tours will also resume on Friday. And one other postponement to tell you about, the Indianapolis Home Show is moving to April due to the increase in COVID-19 cases, restrictions on large gatherings, and restrictions that could still be in place through this month. The Home Show was scheduled for January 22nd through the 31st at the State Fairgrounds. Will now be held April 23rd through May 2nd.
Mountain Dew is kicking off the new year with a new dew. It's called Mountain Dew Major Melon, the first new permanent flavor in more than a decade. We're talking watermelon here. The company says watermelon was the #1 choice of flavors they had fans test out. If you want to do the new dew, it's already on sale with a number of sizes to choose from, and there's a sugar-free option too.
So many options. Thanks for making WRTV your choice for news.
It's been great having you along. Our next newscast tonight at 11. We'll see you then.